In the animal kingdom, gorillas often greet each other with a hug. Certain species of penguins propose to their partner with a pebble. Female lions do all the hunting for their family. Orcas live with their parents their whole lives. While every family is different and every family is unique, the truth is, they're still our fam.
Hey, what's up, middle schoolers, and welcome back. We are in week 4 of our series, Fam. And this series is all about family, and we know that no family is perfect. There are a lot of difficult things that go on in our families, and sometimes it's difficult to see kind of what's going on in your family and how the positive can come out of it. And so we've talked about how, loving your family is how your faith can make an impact. Your family doesn't have to be perfect for God to use it, because no family is perfect. And know that when your family changes, because sometimes families change, God is still with you in the midst of it. And this week we're going to talk about how sometimes some people, like friends, can become family. I don't know about you, but I've got a friend that I grew up with. His name was Nick, and I used to hang out with Nick all the time, and Nick and I were best friends. We used to ride bikes together. We used to go off jumps together. We used to go on trips together. I used to spend the night at his house. We'd play video games together, and we do all this fun stuff together. And it got to the point where I probably spent more time over at Nick's house than I probably did at my own house. And I would always go over to his house, and his dad, always had this fun stuff that we could do. They had dirt bikes and four-wheelers and, all this cool stuff. And then I would go home to my family, and I'd go, oh, well, we don't really have any of that. My dad's, usually out golfing or doing something else. And so it got to the point where I started to think that, man, Nick's family's great. This is awesome. And he was one of my best friends growing up, and until I got out of high school, we did have kind of a falling out. But all throughout my from about 10 to 18, he was my best friend, and I spent so much time with him. And sometimes when we have a family that's like that we're a part of, sometimes it can kind of get to where we feel like we are a part of that family. You walk in the house, and I can just go straight to the fridge and I can get anything out of it, and I can just start eating, and they don't even care, because they know, like, every day I get home from school, we get off the bus, I get off at his stop, walk into his house, and I just start going to the fridge, eating whatever. Sometimes his family would intentionally buy extra food because they knew I was coming over, because I used to eat a lot. I mean, I still do, but that's beside the point. But sometimes our family situations are very different. And it's easy for us to have somebody outside of our family that can kind of welcome us in and treat us like family. And, that's not such a bad thing, because, we've talked about how no family is perfect. Every family has different issues that they go through. And it's good to have people that are outside of your blood relatives, outside of your family, to be able to feel like you have a greater family. Because the fact is, sometimes our family situation is different than what we feel is normal, or what's supposed to be normal. And it could be for a couple different reasons. It could be because we don't have the kind of family everyone else has. The family we have isn't the family that we want to be a part of. I was going through some difficult stuff in my family, and when I was going through that, a lot of times I would go hang out with my buddy Nick and his family, because I didn't like what was going on at my house, so I wanted to spend more time with him. But it also could be that we don't live with the family we came from. And I know each one of those situations can be difficult. Each one of those situations can be stuff that's really hard stuff to deal with. That, if our family isn't the way that we want it to be, our family has changed, our family looks different, or, we've had a situation in life where, we don't live with the people the family that we were born into. It's very difficult. And when our family doesn't fit the ideal family that we want it to be, we can be comfortable knowing that there are other people that we can have in our lives who become like family to us. Now, if you feel like your family is different, know that you are not alone. As we talked about before, no family is perfect. If we've ever heard of David, he ended up becoming the king of Israel. But long before he became the king of Israel, there was another king named Saul. And Saul had a son named Jonathan. And Jonathan and David became friends. And they actually grew up together. They became friends. And David, David's the guy who killed Goliath. He killed this huge, monstrous guy. And when he did that, when he killed Goliath, Saul, Jonathan's dad, was the king. And Saul was a guy that was kind of difficult. He didn't really do what God was asking him to do. He kind of liked to do things his own way. He maybe didn't listen too much, to God's guidance, and he maybe wasn't the nicest person. We don't have any specifics about what it looked like in their family in the home, but we do know how Saul treated David and how Saul treated other people. And so from that, we can imagine that he may not have been the best dad to Jonathan. And on the flip side, We have David, who was the youngest of all his brothers, and he was kind of neglected a little bit, but ended up being the one who would eventually one day become king of Israel, because a prophet came and said, David is going to be the one. And his dad said, what? He said, you want him to be the king? He's like, this doesn't make sense. I don't know how that's going to work out. And so, there might have been some family dynamics in David's family where maybe he was kind of neglected a little bit. He was looked at as, he's a young guy, he doesn't really know as much, and so, whatever. We don't look that great on David, but ultimately he would become king one day, so he gets the last laugh. But we're going to pick up and we're going to look a little bit into the lives of David and Jonathan. When David went and killed Goliath, after that, him and Jonathan met, and it says, 1 Samuel 18, 1-3. After David had finished talking with Saul, after David had just killed Goliath, he goes and he talks to Saul, and Saul's like, who is this guy? And the prophet Samuel comes, the guy who anointed David to become king one day, comes and he says, this is the guy that's going to be king one day. And obviously, so that's going to cause some issues between David and Samuel. But after David had finished talking with Saul, he met Jonathan, the king's son. And there was an immediate bond between them, for Jonathan loved David. And from that day on, Saul kept David with him and wouldn't let him return home. And Jonathan made a solemn pact with David because he loved David as himself. So this just proves the point that sometimes friends are more like family. We see that after David, killed Goliath, after he had this big, fight with Goliath, and he won for Israel, Saul is talking to him, and he's like, who are you? Trying to get to know a little bit about him. And Jonathan becomes immediate friends with David. And it says that he loved David. He loved David like himself. He loved him so much that he looked at him. He was his brother from another mother, and he looked at him and he said, you are my friend. I want you to come live with me. And so David, this shepherd boy who was like the youngest in his family, he was probably not treated the greatest. All of a sudden, now he's living with the king. And granted, one day David would eventually become king, but he got to go live with the king because of his relationship with Jonathan. He got elevated into this status where he got to live in the castle with the king and with his family because of the love and the friendship of his friend Jonathan. And as a church, we are the family of God. We are the people of God. If you follow Jesus, you are part of Jesus' family. And so everybody who follows Jesus is part of the family of God, and we can be that family for each other. That's why we have small groups. That's why we have small group leaders. That's why we have people there. We want you to become friends. We want you to be able to grow up together and be able to have the same love for each other that you have for yourself, so that you love that person so much that they are now a part of your family. And that's a lot of times it's an older term, but we refer to the family of God as brothers and sisters in Christ. And to be a brother and sister in Christ is to treat each other like a brother or sister. And so, if you're in a group with other girls, they can be your sisters. If you're a group with other boys, they can be your brother. And we can have the family of God where we support each other, we encourage one another, and we do life together. Because we were created to do life together like a fam. No matter your situation, no matter what's going on at home with you, you have a place in this ministry. You have a place at this church with us to be part of our family. And so if you feel like you have friends that are family, let them know that you appreciate them. Spend time with each other. Let them know that you care about the fact that you guys are friends. I'm thankful for your friendship. I'm thankful for who you are in my life. I'm thankful for that. And get to know each other and get to, encourage each other. That's part of what we do as the family of God, is we get to encourage one another. And if you don't feel like you have friends who are your fam yet, if you don't feel like you've got that relationship, it's okay to bring more people into your circle. It's okay to try to make other connections, extra connections, so that you can end up having that fam. And it's not that you need to get to know every single person in the world, but have a tight-knit group that you can come together with and be friends with. And eventually those friends, as you grow, you can become more like a family. You can be a fam. And we hope that's what happens in your small group. Try to get to know the people in your small group. Try to get to know a little bit more about them, and try to get to know who they are, so that they can, develop that love for you, and you can develop that love for them, so that you're always going to be there for them. Because sometimes friends are more like family. And that is our hope for us as the church, that we can be a family. We can be this extended family. So no matter what's going on in your home life, no matter what's going on with your blood relatives or the people that you live with in that family, that this could be your family. Who we are as a church is a group that wants to come together, and we want to grow together with you. And your small group leader can be a mentor, they can be a guide for you, but they love you so much and they want to see you grow. They want to see you be successful in life. They want to see you grow closer to Jesus, and they want to see you be somebody who is a part of our fam. Because our small groups are a place that you can be known, you can be heard, you can be loved. And that's what we want for you, and that's why we have our small groups. And I'm so excited that we get to start our in-person gatherings, and we get to be together again, because we're going to be able to get to know each other. We're going to get to be able to listen to each other and grow from knowing each other and the things that we can bring to the table, and everybody is going to be shown some love. And so as you go into your small groups this week, I want to ask you this question. Who is a friend in your life that could be a part of your fam? You know, I made the challenge for us, who is your one? Who's one person that you can show the love of Jesus to? And you can be the person to help bring them into our family, but also make sure that you're building those relationships with the people who are in your small group and are in this student ministry, so that we can all be a family that we can invite other people to join and be a part of, so they too can be known, they can be loved, and they can be heard. I hope you enjoy your small group times as you're about to go into them. Your small group leaders, they know you, they love you, and they care about you. And they're going to listen to you, and they're going to want to chat with you. So, enjoy your time in small group and get to know each other this week, and get to spend some time getting to know each other and pointing each other to Jesus. Have a great week.